Nurse TV, brought to you by Hester.
This is a neonatal intensive care unit, and we actually look after all ranges of gestational babies, ranging from sometimes 23 weeks up to term babies that can sometimes be post-term, about 2 weeks after they've been delivered. And then we actually do the ongoing care of these babies during their illness from the neonatal period, which is 0 to 28 days, onwards up until sometimes the babies are almost a year before they go home, and then they'll spend time in both the neonatal intensive care unit as well as special care nurseries. The baby's last gas was 7.113, CO2 75.3, bicarb was negative 7.3. It was negative 7.7 on the last gas. We have turned the Hertz down to 7. They've left the mean airway pressure.
What study have you done to be a neonatalist?
I've actually done a postgraduate diploma in neonatal intensive care nursing, so I've done my 4 years of a health nursing degree, plus a graduate year, plus 2 years on top of that. So some extensive work. I've also done 2 years with neonatal newborn emergency transport services, which is a service that actually works all around Victoria and borderline New South Wales and South Australia and top end of Tasmania, and goes around picking up extremely sick babies and bringing them back into one of the 4 centres here in Melbourne. So I've done some extensive training, but it's an area I absolutely love. He's just got some secretions in his tube, sorry, I'll just give him a suction. This is Madison J. Madison is actually a 24-week gestational baby. He's weighing 680 grams, and that's, not too bad considering the gestational age. Sometimes we have babies around the 500 gram mark, so he's actually got 180 grams in his benefit to boot, so that's a good thing for him. He's actually not a twin, which is another thing that we have problems with. Sometimes we see babies this small being a twin, and therefore they've had to share the placental blood flow and things like that, so they can actually be a lot smaller. But Madison was born to mum. Unfortunately, she was on her way back from a holiday, and she's from Queensland. So we've actually got to give a lot more TLC to this family, because Madison was brought in from Melbourne Airport on the way back to Brisbane and was delivered here in Melbourne. And so now mum and dad are without their family and have got a lovely son, but without any family contact, and have had to get accommodation, plus deal with the fact that Madison is so tiny, requires full ventilatory support, and is a long way from home, basically. You're all right. The nursing needs of a baby like this is actually a combination of both nursing and medical. There's no sort of fine line between them. In NICU, we actually work as a team, and we do everything together. The doctors will write the orders and obviously make the final statements on the management of care of the babies, but it's also the nurses that interact with that timing of care to make sure that the babies are stable enough. So it can be things like as simple as, changing a nappy, which everyone would expect of a baby, but to things a lot more complex, like looking after their airway. So we actually have the airway breathing tubes in, which we call endotracheal tubes, and we'll suction those tubes to make sure they're patent and clear, make sure that they're tied and secured correctly so they don't fall out. And we adjust the ventilation changes as we've been told to make sure that they're getting the best possible pressures that their lungs require so they can breathe, and wean those down. And then we're involved in the process of extubating them from ventilation to a form of CPAP, which is continuous positive airway pressure. And from that we go down to nasal prongs and then down to air, and then they usually go across to special care. But it's more than that, it's fluid management. Obviously a lot of these babies actually can't have their milk or anything like that because their guts are so immature. So we need to start them off on total parental nutritions and have limited amounts of volume of mum's EBM going in which we feed via orogastric tubes. And there's other things like temperature control. Obviously, Madison, for example, is in a double-walled isolate. They lose temperature so easily because their skin's only 2 cells thick. So we actually need to put them into what we call humidity. And if you have a look on the cot, you can actually see all the humidity and everything going in there, which creates like a jungle-like environment. So there's all sorts of, it's a whole network of different systems approach that we actually need to look after these babies. See all the droplets? We actually put extra moisture into the cot because his skin's so thin because he's so little. So we make it like a jungle in there. So if you were to go into a jungle, it would be just like that. Very hot and sticky. Nursing as a family is a very holistic approach in any degree of part of nursing, but particularly so in neonatal intensive care, because we actually take almost away some of the rights of the parents to feel like a parent, because we've taken their baby and we put them into an isolate. We do minimal handling, and they can't hold the baby as readily as if it was a nice term baby. They can't feed the baby, and they actually lose what we call empowerment of their child. So we actually have to give that back to them in any way that we can, whether it be letting them touch the baby, sort of like when they can, if the baby's stable enough, helping in feeds, helping in nappy changes, and getting them to learn about their baby's needs as well. So talk to them readily, tell them what we're doing, let them vent any questions that they have. We've also got case managers that we can have them talk to, and social workers. So we look after their emotional needs, we look after their social needs, we give them housing accommodation and all those sorts of things, so their housing needs. We have to look after everything in situations like this, because we don't only look after babies from Melbourne, we look after country babies as well. So the family is so important. And of course, if we don't put into place the family bonding with these babies early on, sometimes the babies can grow up and they're not as attached to their parents as the parents would like. Therefore, they have breastfeeding issues. So it's so important to get the baby as close to parents as we can. And when they're stable enough and don't have umbilical lines and don't have humidity, we get them out even when they are this small and give them what we call kangaroo cuddles. And we actually put the babies chest to chest with their mums and dads so they can be nice and close and they can smell them. And little things like that, and put breast milk on cotton tips and put it into their mouth so they can taste it. Anything to get the babies interacting with the parents. Has Shannon actually held Madison's hand? Are you happy for her to put her hands in if she sloshes them and just touch for the...
Oh, she'd love that.
Yeah? Matt, okay, Shannon, what we'll do is we'll get you to say hello to your little brother. Okay, so put out your hands. That's it. Okay, now rub your hands together. All together, in between, nice on the back as well. That's it. Wonderful. And what we'll do now is I'll open this door and you can reach in and you can hold Madison's hand. Okay? Okay, just touch his fingers and say hello to him. Tell him that you're here.
So, can a baby like Madison be okay? I mean, in his circumstance?
Oh, absolutely. A baby like Madison can be. There's a lot more risk problems with their systems because everything is premature from head to gut to kidneys. Therefore, the asphyxial insult, which is the lack of oxygen that they may have to those specific organs, can sometimes cause damage. The biggest thing that we see in these neonates is actually cerebral palsy. So, unfortunately, that's not really able to be shown until mild cases, that is, until sometimes the babies are sort of 3, 4. They're going to school and you might notice that they're a little bit slower behind. Sometimes you see greater motor defects. Sometimes we know before they go home with support such as MRI facilities these days. So it's early days yet, but fingers crossed that Madison will go home just fine. And yes, we do have our success stories where they're this big and they go home and they're fantastic.